Which Adani company will JP Associates be linked to? The biggest clue has emerged after the NCLT approval. There is silence in the room. From the outside, this looks like just another corporate deal, but the story inside is far heavier. A company that was once a big name in infrastructure, cement, real estate, hotels, and power is now hanging on the decision of an insolvency courtroom. Lenders are waiting, bidders have laid out their strategies, and only one question is echoing in the market. Is JP Associates really going to become part of the Adani Group now? And, if yes, through which company? Will this deal go directly into the account of Adani Enterprises? Will it be linked to a specific entity like Adani Power or Adani Ports? Or will the entire game be played through a new SPV? That is the suspense that has turned this whole story into not just a takeover, but the most interesting move on a corporate chessboard. According to recent exchange filings and reports, the Allahabad bench of the NCLT, in an oral order dated the 17th of March 2026, approved Adani Enterprises resolution plan, but the real curiosity starts right here. Which route will be used for implementation? This story was not built in a single day. Jaypee Associates, or JAL, was once considered the flagship company of the JP Group. It had businesses across cement, engineering, construction, power, real estate and hospitality. But the debt burden kept rising to such an extent that the company eventually landed in the insolvency process. According to Economic Times reporting, creditors' claims against JAL were around 55,000 crore, and it was admitted into insolvency proceedings in June 2024. This was not just a corporate default. It was the fall of a business empire that had once built its own identity on the strength of expressways, townships, golf courses, and mega infrastructure projects. When such a large company enters CIRP, it is not just creditors who begin looking at its assets with a new lens. The entire market does. Then the bidding battle began, and this is where the first big twist entered the story. At the beginning, several names were in the race. Adani Enterprises, Vedanta, Dalmia Bharat, Jindal Power, and PNC Infratech were all being discussed. But in the challenge process of September 2025, Vedanta took the lead with an aggregate bid of 17,000 crore. According to reporting by Economic Times and ICICI Direct, in net present value terms, this bid came to around 12,505 crore. At that time, the headline was simple. Vedanta had outbid Adani. The market felt the race was almost decided. But in insolvency deals, the headline number alone is never everything. The real game is hidden in the math of payment structure, timing, and certainty of recovery for lenders. And this is where Adani Group played the move that changed the entire story. Later filings and reports made it clear that lenders were not looking only at the highest aggregate number, but also at the quality of the payout. According to Market Coverage and Business Today reporting, Vedanta's offer had a stretched payment schedule of around 5 to 6 years, whereas Adani Enterprises' resolution plan offered lenders a comparatively faster payout. The Indian Express also wrote that creditors approved Adani Enterprises' 14,535 crore bid in November 2025, and on the same day, the resolution professional issued a letter of intent. So on the surface, Vedanta's bid looked bigger, but what lenders liked more was Adani's faster and more reliable payment structure. In the insolvency world, this is what wins a deal. Not how much money is being offered, but how quickly and with how much certainty that money will be paid. Now let us come to the question that has made this whole news story the most interesting. Exactly which Adani company will JP Associates be linked to? The most important thing here is that, based on filings so far, the name of one final operating company has not yet been locked in. The filing by Adani Enterprises, which was cited by Business Today and Economic Times, clearly says that the resolution plan can be implemented through Adani Enterprises, its promoters, the promoter group, other identified entities of the Adani Group, or through a special purpose vehicle. The entities whose names appeared in the filing included Adani Power Limited, Adani Infra India Limited, Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone Limited, Karnavati Aviation Private Limited, and Mandhata Build Estate Private Limited. At the same time, it was also stated that one or more SPVs could be created to implement the resolution plan. This directly means that it is not fully correct, at least for now, to say that JP Associates will merge only into one of these 5 companies. The more accurate thing to say is that the plan can be executed through any of these entities, or through a combination of them, or through an entirely new SPV. And that is the most important corporate signal in this story. People in the market often ask, so who is the final owner? But in insolvency transactions, the name of the winning bidder is often used like an umbrella, while the real asset allocation happens later through internal structuring. In other words, Adani Enterprises may be the resolution applicant, but asset-by-asset integration may happen across different companies within the group. For example, if an asset is power-linked, a natural fit may be a platform like Adani Power. If there is a logistics or infrastructure-linked opportunity, Adani Ports or Adani Infra may become relevant. If there is a need for real estate, land bank, or project-specific restructuring, then the SPV model may be more practical. So the most honest and fact-based conclusion at this stage is that the takeover of JP Associates will happen within a flexible structure inside the Adani Group, rather than through an immediate merger into one single predetermined listed entity. Now the question arises, why has so much flexibility been kept? The answer is hidden in JAL's asset list. Jaypee Associates was not a one-sector company. It had cement assets, real estate assets, hotels, an engineering legacy, and land banks too. In insolvency-related asset discussions and market reporting, names such as Jaypee Green's Greater Noida, Jaypee Green's Wishtown Noida, Jaypee International Sports City near Juar Airport, and hospitality assets in NCR and elsewhere have kept appearing. Even JAL's old disclosures mentioned luxury hotels, a golf course, and integrated sports complexes. In other words, the buyer is not just getting one cement plant, it is getting a mixed portfolio with assets of very different kinds. It is not always practical to put such a portfolio inside one single corporate vehicle. Many times, groups place different pockets into different subsidiaries or SPVs so that financing, operations, liabilities, and future monetization can be managed more cleanly. It is because of this mixed asset nature that the deal does not look like an ordinary acquisition. If there were only cement assets, then the market would naturally look directly towards cement platforms like Ambuja Cements or ACC. And that speculation would not be entirely baseless either, because the Adani Group is already aggressive in cement expansion. According to Ambuja Cement's January 2026 release and BSE filing, the group's cement capacity has already reached 109 MTPA and a target of 155 MTPA has been set for March 2028. This means the group is consistently working on raw material security, grinding capacity, plant footprint and logistics synergies. Assets like 𝐮𝐻𝐸𝐿 Shahabad grinding unit and Chunar cement plant could be strategically attractive for this larger cement ambition. But note this carefully. This is an inference of strategic fit, not an official implementation announcement. At this stage, the public filing does not mention Ambuja Cements as the resolution implementation entity. That is exactly why, despite the cement logic being strong, the corporate paperwork still seems to remain within the AEL, group entities, and SPV framework. This is the point where the most interesting layer of the story opens up. From the outside, the question looks simple. Which one out of the 5 companies? But from the inside, the answer is far more layered. The Adani Group may be looking at JP Associates not as a single merger story, but as an asset platform story. This could mean that listed flagship Adani Enterprises remains the front-end resolution applicant, while the back-end integration happens across different structures depending on asset category. If that happens, the group can align liability management, taxation, financing flexibility, and operational focus much more effectively. This is often how large business houses digest complex stressed acquisitions. They first take control through an umbrella company and then internally arrange the assets into different pockets. That is why the public curiosity may be dramatic, but the legal reality is still evolving. Now let us speak clearly about the NCLT approval. On the 17th of March 2026, the tribunal approved Adani Enterprises resolution plan through an oral order. According to reporting by the Indian Express and ET, the plan was originally submitted on the 14th of October 2025. Clarifications were later provided, and the letter of intent was issued on the 19th of November 2025. This oral approval removed the biggest judicial hurdle from the path of the deal. But the detailed written order is still extremely important because that order often clearly explains implementation conditions, stakeholder treatment, delisting related issues, shareholder treatment, asset transfer mechanics, and compliance specifics. ET also wrote in its reporting that the liquidation value was not estimated to be sufficient even to fully satisfy the claims of secured creditors, which is why NIL consideration for existing shareholders emerged in the approved plan. This means that in this insolvency resolution, creditor recovery is at the center, not equity holders. There is another dramatic twist in this whole story as well. That market perception and creditor logic are not always the same thing. People looking from outside say, Vedanta had bid 17,000 crore. So how did Adani win? But the math used by insolvency professionals and lenders is different. They have to look at present value, upfront payment, legal certainty, visibility of funding, and confidence in execution. So it is possible for a headline offer to look larger, while another offer appears stronger from the point of view of lender recovery. That is broadly what happened in this case. Business Today clearly wrote that Vedanta got CCI approval in October 2025, but in November 2025, creditors voted in favor of Adani Enterprises. That is why, in insolvency battles, the more important question is not who placed the biggest bid, but whose bid was most usable for lenders. Looking at JP Associates' asset basket, it also becomes clear that for the Adani Group, this acquisition may not just be a stressed asset pickup, but a multi-layered strategic opportunity. On the cement side, there is the angle of capacity and limestone access. On the real estate side, there is the premium land story in NCR, Greater Noida, and the Juar Belt. On the hospitality side, there are legacy hotels. On the infrastructure side, there is legacy brand value and land-linked projects. If the group operates some of these assets and monetizes others, the economics of the resolution could improve even further. That is exactly why the SPV option looks so meaningful. An SPV gives the buyer the flexibility to hold mixed assets in a ring-fence structure, separate liabilities, keep financing tailored, and make selective transfer or monetization easier at a later stage. That is why the word SPV in this deal is not mere technical jargon. It is a strategic key. There is one more subtle point here. The very fact that names like Adani Power, Associates, Adani Infra, Karnavati Aviation, and Mandhata Build Estate appeared in Adani Group's filing is itself a signal that the group has deliberately kept the resolution implementation wide. If the group wanted to execute the deal only through one single operating company, the filing would not have been kept so broad. This may mean that internal evaluation is still going on regarding which asset fits best on which platform. Some assets may go directly into a listed entity, some may stay in unlisted vehicles, and some may sit in project-specific structures. That is why the market has not yet been given one clean name. What it has been given is optionality. In the corporate world, optionality is kept only by those who want to preserve room for later internal structuring. If you understand the whole story, the picture looks something like this. A debt-ridden empire stands at the doors of the court. There are several bidders. Headline bids are different, but lenders are sitting with a scale that weighs cash flow and certainty. Vedanta appears ahead at one point. Adani quietly flips the game through payment structure, creditor votes turn, NCLT gives an oral nod, and then the market's attention gets stuck on one final question. Where exactly will this company go now? But perhaps the biggest truth of this story is that JP Associates is moving not toward one straight line merger, but toward a layered group restructuring. And the real architecture of this restructuring will probably become clear only gradually through the written order, future filings, and implementation steps. So if someone asks you today which one of those 5 Adani companies JP Associates will merge into, the most responsible answer is this. So far, no single company name has been finally fixed in the public domain. Adani Enterprises is the winning resolution applicant. But according to the filing, the resolution plan can be implemented through Adani Enterprises, its promoters or promoter group. Group entities like Adani Power, Adani Infra, Adani Ports, Kanawati Aviation, Mandata Build Estate, or through a new SPV. In other words, the biggest update is this. The takeover is certain, but the exact corporate vehicle is still flexible. And perhaps it is this very flexibility that makes Adani Group's win even more interesting. Because this is not just an acquisition. It is the beginning of a much larger business puzzle.
If our video has taught you something new, do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources, news from various news agencies, opinion polls and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.